Coach Joe Mazzulla speaks out after an unfortunate blowout loss last night to the Milwaukee Bucks. He addresses how the Celtics will build off of this loss and explains on why he was interested in the fourth quarter especially. We'll be diving into that while also looking at Jrue Holiday speaking out on who he asked to be played in the second half and in his return to Milwaukee, how that felt for him. All of that and more on this episode of Celtics Digest. I'm Bruce Veliz. But before we dive into this Boston Celtics content, I would like to say that roughly right around 80% of our viewers are not subscribed, and would greatly appreciate it if you guys hit that big old red subscribe button and join the Celtics Digest family. We're getting closer and closer to our goal of 3,000 subscribers, and we can't do it without your guys' help. So if you want to make sure you stay up to date on daily Boston Celtics content and coverage, make sure to hit that subscribe button, as you definitely won't regret it. But let's dive into the news at hand today as we break down this unfortunate loss from last night. Make sure to grab a snack, as today is going to be a jam-packed episode. But let's dive in, looking at the topic of Jrue Holiday and Joe Mazzulla being vocal after the unfortunate loss last night. If you guys missed it, you guys were lucky to miss it. The Celtics unfortunately got blown out by the Milwaukee Bucks off a back-to-back game that went into an overtime thriller versus the Minnesota Timberwolves. Celtics came off of a tough stretch with the Indiana Pacers as well. And so we're not looking for excuses for the Celtics. They just clearly did not play great, and the Milwaukee Bucks played a lot better than them. Hit all their shots, were playing great on defense. The Celtics just could not get into a rhythm on the offensive side, could not hit twos, could not hit threes, and it was just overall a bad shooting night from the team. But let's dive in and look at some of these reports and questions after the game involving Joe Mazzulla and Jrue Holiday, as they are the two main people that spoke out after the loss. We're going to be looking at tweets from Noah Dalzell, who has been providing some great content for the Boston Celtics. But in here, she asked Jrue Holiday two questions. The first one was Jrue Holiday on the Celtics starters the second half after getting benched. Jrue Holiday said, he asked us, and, you know, we wanted to fight, we wanted to stay in there and play, but sometimes as players, you have to listen to your coaches too, so I appreciate Joe for that. And that was on the news of them possibly getting back in the second half. The Celtics only put up 38 first half points, which is absolutely terrible, and they almost let up 80 first half points to the Milwaukee Bucks, almost going down 40 to one of the best teams in the offensively in the NBA and one of your rivals. You just got to chalk that game up, put the bench guys in, and let them play out the second half. Get your guys on rest and get them prepared for Saturday versus the Houston Rockets. But ultimately, Jrue Holiday and the guys wanted to go back in. Mazzulla recognized that they wanted to go back in, but realized that the game was too out of reach and there was no necessary need to play them. No need for these guys to get hurt in a game that they definitely can't come back and win. No way for them to go put out empty stats in a game that is basically meaningless. The Celtics were already down 40 at halftime. The Bucks weren't going to slow down, and the Bucks were still hitting all their shots. So even if the Celtics brought a little bit of momentum back, I'm sure the Bucks would have still brought some of their momentum back and would have kicked the Celtics out of the gym, beating them by 20 or 25. Therefore, there's no need to bring that game back. Just let your bench guys roll out, see what you have for a bench rotation, and see who can really truly be a bench piece for you in this playoffs. Because guys like these, like Giannis and Damian Lillard, still played in the third quarter. So guys like Stevens, guys like Banton, they get to play against some of these guys. Even if they're not going full 100%, they get to see how they will match up against some of these guys and see what kind of players they want to keep for this deep playoff run. We also have another quote here from Jrue Holiday, another one from Noah Dalzell. She got all four of these quotes today, so I wanted to say shout out to her. But she was doing her job, asking Jrue Holiday on his return to Milwaukee. Jrue said it was cool to come back, it was cool to have a video, and I'm glad it's over. And I definitely agree with Jrue Holiday. I think it's cool to come back to your hometown team that you obviously played for and, you know, spent a lot of time with. You got a ring with this team, so it's really nice to be there. It's also nice to have your, tribute video, like you mentioned. That's always nice to see as a player from a respected fan base. You feel respected. You feel like, you honored their team very well. But I don't blame him, as he's happy that it's over with. Obviously, I think there are some mixed feelings going back to Milwaukee, especially since they didn't tell him about the trade and he kind of was just shipped out of nowhere. I feel like there's still a little bit of rumblings there. And also, I believe, just like getting over the nervous factor of going back to your hometown team, playing your old team, it's nice and fun. But once you get it done with, you're glad it's over. You don't have that, nervousness of going back, that anxiousness of playing in that building. And I definitely feel like that Jrue Holiday is now just happy it's over. He's happy that he's with his new team. Like he said, he's moving on to bigger and better things. So he's happy that this Celtics team is still contending, and I'm sure he can't wait to, get into the playoffs and want to play against those Milwaukee Bucks to kind of prove them wrong on letting him go, proving to them that he was the better fit. But I want to know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below in the comment section. So let me know your guys' thoughts and opinions on these Jrue Holiday comments. Jrue Holiday not being able to play in the second half, I think is totally fine. I understand why he would want to. He's back home in Milwaukee. And I want to know your guys' thoughts on his quote talking about being back home in Milwaukee, happy that it's finally done. But let's dive into the important news, which is Joe Mazzulla addressing out the media today, talking about some things that had happened in that game. And the first quote, we have Joe Mazzulla asking about last night's blowout loss to the Bucks, and he says, you have to look at this and say, is this a one-off? Is this a trend that you have to be concerned about? And when you look at that stuff, the answer is no. No. And I totally agree with Joe Mazzulla. I think the Celtics just had a really bad night last night. Obviously, like we mentioned, came off to a back-to-back with traveling in an overtime game where they had to crawl back down 9 with 4 minutes left to the Minnesota Timberwolves just the night prior. And they had tough matchups versus the Indiana Pacers throughout the week. It's been a tough matchup for the Boston Celtics so far in this little stretch of the season. They had a tough couple games. Luckily, the season will hopefully be getting a little bit easier after this stretch, but we'll have to wait and see with this Celtics team. Personally, I agree with Joe Mazzulla, though. I don't think that this is a constant thing. This is the one truly bad game I believe the Celtics have played all season on both sides of the floor, offensively and defensively. We've seen them struggle on the offensive side some nights. We've seen them struggle on the defensive side some nights. But we've never seen them, collapse completely on both sides of the ball and absolutely put up a absolute pooper to a team that should have been close or even get like a blown-out loss. Last year, we saw them playing down to their competition or playing up to their competition. This season, we've seen them maintain their level of competence, beating the really bad teams and bringing the really good teams to competitive games. And unfortunately, in this competitive matchup, they just could not get it done. Lack of shooting, lack of scoring, it's totally fine. No need to overreact. The Boston Celtics are still the top team in the Eastern Conference and still are a dominant team in the East that will be ready to make waves. Celtics had a little bit of a shockwave hit them last night. That's totally fine. Wake up, get ready to go, and bounce back on Saturday when you take on the Houston Rockets. And lastly, we'll be looking at another quote from Mazzulla talking about, the end of the game and saying, we gave it a shot. Didn't go our way. To me, I'd rather focus on the second half of this game. Our goal was to win one quarter, and we won one. In the fourth quarter, I love the internationality that our second unit brought. That, to me, is more important from tonight's game. I don't blame Joe Mazzulla on this. Celtics ultimately struggled, yes, but winning one quarter, if that's what your goal is, that's what we got done. We outscored the Milwaukee Bucks in the fourth quarter. Yeah, they played their bench unit. Yeah, we played ours. But we still fought in that fourth quarter with our bench guys. Guy like Stevens, Brissett, Banton, Svi Mykhailiuk, those guys came out with the starting lineup for the bench in the second half. Some of those guys got some run and got to be some actual great players. And we also saw some great playing time from two of our bench players in Payton, Pritchard, and Sam Hauser. If we want to look at the stats from last night, I just included the bench minutes looking at all of their stats. But as you guys can see, Brissett brought some energy off the bench with 13 points. Went over 3 from 3, but brings that energy that the Celtics need, kind of help out guarding out in Giannis, and was, tasked with that role a little bit. Neemias Queta, Luke Kornet, kind of game for night. Luke Kornet didn't really do that much. I would have liked to see Neemias Queta get the run early. I feel like he could have stopped a little bit of what the Bucks were bringing, but Neemias Queta got a little bit of look. But like I mentioned, Payton Pritchard, 6 for 13 from the field, 2 for 9 from 3, 7-7 from free throw, with 4 total rebounds, 4 total assists, and 21 points. In the second half, it was mainly his game, his to take over, his to control, and he definitely did that, leading this offense and what they kind of wanted to build back for what was looking good. And like a guy in Sam Hauser, 4 for 8 from the field, 4 for 8 from 3, with 4 total rebounds, 1 steal, and 15 points. You gotta like what you see out of the Celtics team sometimes. Excuse me. Whoa. You gotta like what you see. Sorry about that, but you gotta like what you see out of the Celtics team sometimes from this bench guys like Payton Pritchard, guys like Sam Hauser, contributing for this Celtics team and helping them out. Unfortunately, the starters could not get it done, and it was just an unfortunate loss. But I like the confidence that Joe Mazzulla is having with this team. He still believes in it like I still believe in it. There's no need to overreact on dainty losses like this. It's okay. The Celtics will bounce back, and they'll be ready to go and still are a competent team. There is nothing to freak out about. No massive trades that need to go down. No coaching firing. Everything will be okay. But let me know your guys' thoughts and opinions on this breakdown of the Celtics after their coach and Jrue Holiday actually spoke up about their loss and we actually get their thoughts and opinions. I'd like to know your guys' thoughts and opinions, so leave them down in the comment section down below. And if you guys are at this point of the video and still aren't subscribed, what are you guys doing? We know you enjoy that Celtics content. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode. The Celtics, like I mentioned, will be taking on the Houston Rockets tomorrow night in a bounce-back opportunity win at home to make their franchise record 19-0. We're hoping for the best in the Boston Celtics, and I'm Bruce Velez. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.